One piece of rock. That was all it took. No predator, no storm, no warning, just a single ledge that gave way beneath a body that had every reason to trust it. Mountain goats are born to climb, but no living creature is born to fly. For 1 second, there is nothing underneath it at all. No grip, no angle, no choice. And then it survives. Somehow the body is still moving, still breathing, still upright, on a narrow shelf of stone 40 feet below where it started. But surviving a fall is not the same as escaping one. Above it, the wall it came from, smooth, vertical, and completely out of reach. Below it, a drop that ends in nothing worth landing on. It survived the fall, but it has not escaped the trap. So how does an animal famous for climbing end up somewhere with no way back? 40 minutes earlier, the mountain had shown nothing. First light on the north face, frost still holding in the shadows, the wind low and steady. On a mountain, this is what safe looks like. For most species, these cliffs are a place to avoid. A place where a single misjudgment costs everything. For mountain goats, they are a refuge. Wolves do not come here. Cougars will not commit to this angle. Bears have no reason to try. The mountain goat survives by living in the one place its predators refuse to follow. Safety in the high country is not comfort. Safety is difficulty, and the body is built for that difficulty. Deep chest, heavy shoulders that pull the animal upward rather than push it. A low center of mass that keeps the weight pressed into the rock instead of away from it. Then there are the hooves. Each one splits into 2 independent toes. On contact, they spread. The hard outer wall catches the smallest edge of stone. The soft inner pad grips like rubber on a surface no boot could hold. Specialized hooves are one of a mountain goat's greatest advantages, but even the best hooves still need something to hold on to, which means the most important skill is not in the legs at all. It is knowing where not to step. And that knowledge is not born. It is collected, slowly, over seasons, from the animals that already have it. The young goat on this face is not yet 2 years old. The instinct is fully intact. It reads the slope. It reads the angle. It knows, without being taught, that the rock is where it belongs. But instinct cannot replace experience. Instinct tells an animal what is possible. Experience tells it what is wise. Those are not the same thing, and the mountain does not explain the difference gently. 20 feet above, the older animals are feeding on a wide ledge. Unhurried, their route was chosen before they took a single step. The young one moves anyway, sideways, outward, toward a band of green that looks worth the distance. The first mistake is small. A hoof slides on a patch of lichen and catches almost immediately, barely a stumble. And that is the problem. One small mistake is not enough to frighten it. The recovery was too easy. The lesson never landed. Sometimes that is exactly when the next mistake begins. Because every step outward is also a step away from the animals that know better. And confidence on a mountain is the quietest kind of danger. But there is something on these cliffs that no instinct can prepare an animal for. Rock ages. A ledge that held for 100 winters can fail on the 101st. Water works into the hairline cracks. It freezes, it expands, it thaws, it goes deeper. Season after season, the mountain takes itself apart from the inside. A rock may look solid without actually being solid anymore. The older goats know this, not as a fact, but as a habit, a hesitation, a weight shift that tests before it commits. The young one steps at full confidence onto a slab that has been failing quietly for decades. And the mountain finally collects. Now, 40 feet down, everything has changed. The ledge it landed on is barely wider than its own shoulders. The path that brought it here no longer exists. And here is what makes this so much worse than it looks. Climbing up and climbing down are not the same problem. Going up, the eyes lead. The animal sees the hold, reaches, commits. The body follows what the head has already approved. Going down, the feet go first, into places the eyes cannot see. Every step is a question asked into empty air, and the answer only arrives after the weight has already been given. A mountain goat can climb almost anything. Descending is where the species dies. Only one direction remains. But from this moment on, every step forward also makes the way back harder. And high in the mountains, the terrain is not the only thing that can change. By late morning, the wind has swung around the ridge. It comes across the face now instead of into it, gusting, irregular. A crosswind does not push an animal off a cliff. It does something more dangerous than that. It makes a solid foothold feel uncertain. It arrives half a second before the weight does. It turns balance into a negotiation. The young goat stops, not from exhaustion, not from confusion. It stops because something older than thought has told it to. Survival skill does not always mean continuing. Sometimes it means knowing when to stay still. 11 minutes pass. The wind drops. The body stays pressed to the wall. And in that stillness, something else begins to change. A mountain goat's greatest strength is precision. Placement measured in millimeters, repeated hundreds of times a day, without a single error. But fear makes a precise step become a rushed one. Its greatest fear is not simply the height. Height is where this animal lives. Its greatest fear is a surface that can no longer be trusted, and not knowing whether the next step will still hold. Once that doubt enters the body, everything the animal is good at starts working against it. Muscles tighten, movements shorten, the grip becomes a clench. Below the ledge, the only route down runs across a gap in the rock, 10 centimeters. On any ordinary morning, that distance would not register as an obstacle. It is less than a single stride. But when the body is exhausted, 10 centimeters can become an enormous distance. Instinct is now giving two orders at once. Stay away from the edge and move, because behind you there is nothing left to return to. Below the gap, the slope opens out, wide, angled, walkable. Safety is already within sight. That is the hardest part. It is not hidden. It is not far. It is right there, in full view, and the body is no longer sure it can reach it. 40 minutes ago, this animal was choosing routes. Now it is not searching for a path anymore. It is simply holding position, waiting for something to change. And then something does. Movement above. Slow, deliberate, unhurried. The adult has returned. It descends to a shelf just above the trapped animal and stops there. It does not call. It does not reach. It stands where it can be seen. Sometimes, simply knowing that you are no longer alone is enough to change fear. But the adult cannot climb down to it. There are some distances that strength cannot cross. What the adult has is not strength, it is experience. This animal has stood on a ledge like this one before. It made the same misjudgment in the same kind of light on the same kind of rock, and it learned the only way this species learns anything. Experience does not make the cliff any lower. The adult moves to the far side of the gap, tests a hold, shifts its weight onto it, and holds the position a moment longer than necessary. Then it does it again. The adult can show the way, but it cannot give the young goat more strength. And the mountain is not going to wait for it to recover. The light is dropping toward the ridge. The temperature is falling. Within 2 hours, the frost will return to the rock, and every hold on this face will become something else entirely. No one can make this step for it. 1 foothold, just 1 foothold. There is no second path. There is no third attempt waiting in reserve. There are moments when there is no strength left to try again and again. There is only enough strength to try one more time and make it count. The head drops, the shoulders load, the front hoof extends across the gap, hangs in open air for a fraction of a second, and comes down. And this time it finds a foothold. The rear legs follow before the mind can object. The body crosses, the rock holds. Only 1 meter remains. The adult is already moving down the open slope, unhurried, as though nothing unusual has happened, which, on this mountain, is almost true. The adult did not rescue it from the cliff. It only helped the young goat see what fear had made it forget. 40 minutes earlier, it stepped before it looked. Now, it has learned to look before it steps. That lesson cost it a fall, 40 feet of rock, and very nearly everything else. It will not need to learn it a second time. And somewhere above this face, on a ledge chosen carefully by an animal that already understood all of this, the herd is still feeding, waiting for it to come back up the way it should have gone in the first place. If this changed how you see the animals that live on the edge of impossible places, subscribe to this channel. And tell me below, have you ever watched an animal do something you were absolutely certain was impossible? There is so much more happening on these mountains than anyone sees from the valley floor, and we are only getting started.